Hi, everybody. Um, we'll all introduce ourselves. My name's Abby.
Alyssa.
I'm Maddie.
Maya.
I'm Rob.
I'm Robert.
All right, awesome. So we have a few topics that we're going to cover today. The first one being Kim Kardashian and just the drama that's going on now with her and Kanye, and also with her and Ray J. We want to kind of talk about her exes and what's going on there. To give a little background, with Kanye, he has been posting a lot on Instagram, kind of just seeming very like unstable. Things about her most recent ex, Pete Davidson, that's has a lot of his fans like taunting him and stuff. And then with Ray J, we all know about the infamous sex tape that was leaked that kind of started her career. And now it's coming out that they were all kind of in on it, the Kardashians, and that like he's trying to show proof that he's not a bad person, that he wasn't threatening to release a second one, and that it was all for business. So, Alyssa, if you want to kind of start us off on that.
I think especially with the whole Kanye thing, it's really difficult to look at because I feel like deep down he does mean well, but like you were just saying, he's posting all this stuff on social media for the public to see, and everything he's been broadcasting has put himself in a negative light, and it's almost like he does it for him, like to himself. But then again, back to Ray J, with everything almost seeming like a publicity stunt. Once one thing's done, it's like they're moving on to the next, and I don't know. Kanye keeps saying that he means well. He's doing this for his family. All he cares about is his family, and that could very well be true. But all we're technically seeing is all the negative stuff that he's been posting in the media.
I agree with what Alyssa is saying because as like these issues can easily be solved like in-house privately, they also have large fan bases that have like specific opinions about themselves, like to the public figure, where they want to be seen as in a good light to help with different things in their career, but also it's very personal matters. So it's kind of hard for them to navigate this without the whole public knowing or finding out, because the public will find out and then they'll blow this out of proportion, pretty much.
I agree with Maddie on that. I always say, like, with celebrities, it's like you never really know, like, exactly what's going on unless you're them. And it's tough having your life just, like, so publicly broadcasted, like, every aspect of it. So it's just crazy. Like, they're both two very, I feel like controversial figures, like, especially Kanye, maybe not so much Kim. I know she's done, like, some kind of shady stuff in the past, but, I mean, who knows how it's going to play out.
Yeah, so going off that, I do think Kanye actually is like a good father. Recently, in the past couple days, him and Kim actually were both at their daughter's basketball game. So it looks like they're pretty civil in their divorce and both supportive of their daughter. Kim also just bought a mansion in Malibu, only a few miles away from Kanye, and he offered to help her renovate it, which I thought was pretty interesting.
And yeah, I also agree with that. Like, in fact, that Kanye seems like he's the one who's like really trying to like help out Kim. But also, I'm kind of wondering if the whole reason he was actually so deranged, I guess, in terms of Pete and all that stuff was also sounded like he's trying to promote his music a little more, get more on the mainstream, because at the end of the day, that's their career and they need to get some mainstream and see how much attention they can just get. Because also, if he really progresses that he is a father figure, like, why would you be doing that in front of your children and all that stuff? Because all of them have access to Instagram. They each have their accounts, so they can see what he's doing.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like with both these situations, like with the Ray J thing, it's just kind of proving that, like the Kardashians, like it's business and it's publicity, and that is how they grow. That's how they make money. And even with something that was always said to be like a leaked sex tape, like she had no control over it and she's embarrassed of it and she regrets it. Like now that all the proof is coming out thanks to Ray J that, they were all kind of in on it, it takes a little bit of a turn when it comes to Kanye, because you want to think that like maybe he was promoting his music, all of that stuff. But when it came to the harassment that he was doing, like in terms of her and Pete Davidson when they were still together, it just goes to show that like even a woman as powerful as Kim Kardashian, like as famous, like when it comes to kind of toxic exes and people that you really just like can't separate from, it is kind of scary to see like how she was just harassed and how her relationship was like tormented by him and all of his fans. Like I definitely think there was like a darker side to it.
I mean, I would also like to bring up one more thing about Kim is the fact that she also continues to say like, "Hey, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to bring this up." Because she also seems like she has a lot of other things going on in terms of her own brands and like she has her own bodywear line and all that stuff that she wants to bring to the light. And she's getting an award recently for her donations that she's been giving that she hasn't said like or wanted recognition for the past couple of years, but now they're finally giving her it. So she just kind of keeps saying like, I don't want to hear about the sex thing. I don't want to hear about Kanye at the moment. Like, I just want to do what's best for my brand and my approach. But at the end of the day, like people will more focus on the drama no matter what.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so moving on, our next topic is, Queen Elizabeth recently passed away, and yeah, she's having an 11-day kind of funeral. There's a lot of stuff going on. I think it's called Operation London Bridge. Most of like those countries are just kind of shut down. And there's a lot going on because although we want to mourn, someone as famous as Queen Elizabeth, who stood for Britain and all that good stuff, there was also a lot of terrible things that happened under her reign that I do think that we need to look into and talk about and understand. And Alyssa?
I definitely agree, Abby. It's really difficult. You see two different sides in the media and everything with her funeral recently. People waited in line for over 12 hours to honor her. 2 o'clock in the morning, everything like that, they were there. But also, I know a big thing that came up was the family's whole involvement with slave trade and the money that they made off of it. And it's, as much as you don't want to disrespect the dead, you can't ignore the bad things and you can't ignore the good things either while bringing up the bad things. And I think there's just this mix of both, but we're kind of seeing one end or the other and not as much in the middle of honoring her while also realizing that her and her entire family definitely have some dirt that is kind of starting to get dug up again.
Piggybacking off Alyssa, I think it is a double-edged sword of like it's been tradition, so people are used to like just having this royal family and what they stand for. But you also like there's another side of it. Like personally, like my family's from Trinidad, and they got their independence from Britain in 1962. So they've been free from rule for about 60 years, and they weren't treated very well. So it makes sense why there are groups that would not either care or not feel some type of sympathy for her passing away. But say for people who are British, who are used to this, it's an important part of their life because they go to school, they learn about the royal family, and it's just something that they have as well as like Parliament because they have assets and power.
Yeah, along with that, I can't help but really think about like how people in England are like really reacting to this. I feel like they kind of like lean towards more like traditional like practices and are like a little bit more traditional maybe than like America, but I know that's still in like it's still pretty progressive. So I wonder if it's like split up between the people, like how they're handling this like kind of mourning.
Yeah, no, I totally agree in terms of the fact that like other countries are also attributing to Queen Elizabeth. Like some of them are, also taking the time to mourn her death. But also wonder, like, is it just because England controlled their country for that long, or is it generally because they enjoyed her rule? And it brings up a interesting discussion in terms of, I always say, it looks like we got a message from Aiden Farrell. Are they taking the Queen off of the money and replacing it with the King? No, I don't think that's going to be an immediate thing because they still have the Prime Minister, and she is the one controlling the thing at the moment because King Charles still has to be initiated yet. But also back to my point in terms of this is like the first time a major queen has died in this century in terms of the fact that we have so much media nowadays, and it's probably the biggest broad screen funeral in the past couple years and stuff like that. Like, it's also just the fact that like the media is so much into this right now, and all the censorship, making sure that they're talking only good about her. There's so much that's trying to be covered in terms of like what she has done in her ruling, because it was 70 years, 13 prime ministers. Like it was a long time, even though we like to say like, time goes by fast. Like it hasn't been that long ago, but it was a long time. And some of these people will still remember exactly what she did. People are still alive when she first took rule. So it's very impactful death, and it's very much being overtaken by the media and trying to make everyone perceive it the same way. But there's still a lot of hard feelings, I guess.
I agree with Robert also. Like she did a lot of great things in her life as well as negative under her rule. She served in World War II at 13, which is very impressive. She was also did the most amount of charity of any person in the royal family in the past hundreds of years. And in 1961, she actually danced with the president of Ghana, which triggered a lot of racists at the time because it still wasn't a good time for African Americans. So I think she still did do a lot of great things and is well deserved at the funeral.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a nuanced issue. There's a lot of love. There's a lot of hate. If you've seen some tweets, some people have been very, very vocal about. I mean, I remember reading a tweet that's saying that she should like burn in hell. I mean, it's there's extremes on both sides, definitely, and obviously rest in peace to the queen, because we would like to be respectful of the dead, but it is very important to acknowledge everything that a person does in their lifetime, not just the good or the sugar coated type of stuff. We don't really talk about everything. And our next topic is a baseball player, Fernando Tatis. Am I saying it correctly? Someone correct me if I'm not. But he was recently kind of found using an anabolic steroid, which he claimed he was using to treat ringworm. But it's on the list of, things that you can't use when you're in the Major League Baseball Association. And he was suspended for 80 games. He was a very big up and coming player. He was very young, but good for his age. So, a lot is being said about this. And Alyssa, you want to start us off again?
Like you said, Abby, he's a very big up and coming player for the Padres. And it's really a shame because he had already missed the first 4 months of the season, I believe, with a broken left wrist. So they were already missing out on his talents. He's a big investment for the team, a big money player. They put a lot of money into him to be this great player that they need for these games. And he has not been able to perform this season. He was on a minor league rehab assignment when the news broke. And I saw something from AJ Preller, who's the Padres president of baseball operations. And he said a big thing has been trust. And over the last 6 or 7 months, they haven't been having that trust with him. So really kind of makes me wonder whether there's more that we don't know, and if there's a lot more that he's been kind of doing that shouldn't have been done, and if he's telling the truth that it really wasn't intentional that he took the performance-enhancing drugs, and kind of what the deal is with that.
First off, appreciate the comment, Stevie. Secondly, just talking about what he's done, I know he's up and coming, and saying what Alyssa said, coming off an injury, obviously, it would make sense for someone to do steroids, but, for him saying that it's to cure ringworm, there are over-the-counter drugs such as micanazolone and clotrimazole that, they're not on the banned substance list. So you can use those things and you won't get flagged and you won't get suspended or anything. So it's very curious as to why he's using an anabolic steroid to cure something like that if it's not a PED for performance enhancement. So I think, and he's also been downplaying in the media a lot. So I think he's just trying to cover it up. And he has a lot of pressure on him for him to perform well, of course. And I think that's going to hurt his reputation with not just the franchise, but the league, especially when he's a star player.
Yeah, I mean, I feel pretty like cut and dry about the situation. I mean, like you work like so hard for years, like basically your entire life to like get to this like point in this position that it's like you can't like afford to like take any of those risks. Like I feel like the answer is like pretty simple. It's like he's guilty. It's like why would you even like want to risk being seen as guilty? Like there were so many ways like around this, and there's so many people that would like kill to be in his position. So I feel like I don't know if he's willing to do this, then he's probably not like deserving of that position because like a million other people like wouldn't probably ever do that.
I also think it's a pretty upsetting situation, especially with all the players already like not able to get into the Hall of Fame because of them getting flagged for steroids, like A-Rod, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens. And even A-Rod came out in an interview and said that he had wished that younger players had seen the mistakes he's made and learned from them. And that just hasn't happened, especially with him, who was one of the MVP runner-ups last year and one of the next faces of baseball. And now his whole career is going to be tainted because of this one so-called mistake. You could even say that.
Rob, you want to chime in?
Yeah, I can go. So just another thing about this whole situation, other than the fact that what Miles said, where he's just kind of doubling down in terms of his reputation with the media. He just really trying to avoid any sort of topic about it. And each time he brings it up, it's kind of a downhill slope. He's being more vague. He's not being as pivotal in terms of like what he's like they're actually talking about because he tries to avoid the topic, which I think it's honestly just because he's so young. He just doesn't understand the stakes of what it means to be in the media and what it means to have your name out there in terms of people will latch on to bad news as way more into any sort of like good performances or anything like that. They will only talk about bad and it can last him for years. I mean, as he said, as Robert said with A-Rod, like he had to live with it the rest of his life. And it's just another thing like, will the young guys learn and will he be able to recover? That's my biggest question in terms of like, can he recover from this pit like downfall or will he just end up in the gutter?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I always have hope that, people make mistakes and they learn from them and they get a second chance. I personally feel like being a professional athlete is one of the best jobs you can have. I mean, you get paid outrageous amounts of money to be doing the sport you love, to have diehard fans. And it's always sad to see when people maybe want to cheat their way to the top, or even if they just simply, make a mistake, a lack of judgment, you know. But whatever ends up happening, hopefully everything works out and he's treated fairly and, he suffers the consequences for his actions, but I don't think his career should be over for something like this. And that's all the time we have for today. Thanks to everyone who's watching. And yeah.